Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about the ties between Silicon Valley and the Pentagon because they go way deeper than we previously knew or possibly imagined. Now, here's what's going on, and this is coming from multiple sources, but I'm cribbing from Business Insider, who had a great article on this. Apparently, thousands of previously unreported subcontracts were published this past Wednesday, July 8th, and these subcontracts were obtained through open records requests by an accountability nonprofit called Tech Inquiry. Now, they show that tech giants including Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and others have secured more than 5,000 agreements with agencies, including the Department of Defense, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, the DEA or Drug Enforcement Agency, as well as the FBI. Tech Inquiry's research was led by Jack Paulson, and I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. He's a former Google researcher that left Google in 2018. Now, Paulson told NBC News, and I quote, "Often the high-level contract description between tech companies and the military looks very vanilla and mundane. But only when you look at the details of the contract, which you can get through Freedom of Information Act requests, do you see the workings of how the customization from a tech company would actually be involved." Now, if you're unfamiliar with how U.S. government subcontractors work, subcontracts come about when one contractor can't really carry out all of the duties of the federal contract as required by the government, and then hires a third party to fulfill those aspects. In many cases, the military and law enforcement contractors subcontracted with Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, and others, which I'll get to, for services like cloud computing and data processing, which basically means that these government agencies are then moving their data into Microsoft, Google, and Amazon's clouds. Now, the research shows that Microsoft, Amazon, Google, in that order, are the biggest recipients of this previously undisclosed work. And according to the Tech Inquiry website, here's the breakdown. Microsoft had 6,860 subcontracts. 443 of these were for their cloud, 6,417 were for non-cloud work, and they were subcontracting primarily for companies like Dell, CDW, Insight Enterprises, and Minburn Technology Group. Amazon, coming in at number 2, had 477 subcontracting primarily for 4 Points Technology, JHC Technology, and ECS Federal. And Google, being number 3, had 384, and they were primarily subcontracting to the Daston Corporation, DLT Solutions, EAC Technology, and Danuch Associates. Facebook was at number 4 at 172, NVIDIA, the video card and processor maker, at 165, Twitter, interestingly enough, at 43, and Palantir, which I would expect to have subcontracts and contracts, comes in at 26. Now, for the record, subcontracting is actually normal in government work. There's nothing wrong with being a subcontractor per se. I mean, I've actually done it myself, but it becomes concerning because we are talking about two different things here that may not necessarily have been aware to the public. The first thing is that many of these companies are housing and storing our sensitive data, such as Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, or they're intentionally data mining us in exchange for allowing us to use their quote-unquote free products. So having deeper ties to the federal government is concerning, especially in the wake of the information that Edward Snowden released in 2013 or 14 about the PRISM project and other intel gathering projects on the U.S. population by intelligence services that are now more deeply in bed with Microsoft, Amazon, Google, etc. by virtue of data warehousing through a subcontract kind of situation. The second point is that tech workers in Silicon Valley for these companies in recent years have been pressuring these companies, their employers, to drop contracts with law enforcement and military. So for example, Google workers basically in 2018 had a very serious issue with their employer after Gizmodo revealed that Google was building artificial intelligence for drone targeting through a subcontract with the Pentagon. After some employees quit in protest, Google agreed not to renew that contract, and so that is either in limbo or got moved to somebody else. Employees at Amazon and Microsoft have petitioned both of their respective companies to drop their contracts with Immigration, Customs Enforcement, or ICE, as well as the military, but so far neither of those companies has actually caved to any of those demands. And so I think that's the two-edged sword here, is that we really need transparency in government. And when you've got, let's say, Dell winning a major contract, but then outsourcing to Microsoft, for example, that is a kind of a relationship that I think needs to be more publicly known and not buried on page 476, line double Z, subparagraph 28 in, a massive federal contract. If you've ever seen a government contract, oh boy, it is red tape galore. So I think this is actually very important. It gives a really good insight to just how much the federal government is not just in bed with Microsoft, Amazon, Google, etc., but the amount of money that the US government is spending for these infrastructures to actually house their data, do consulting work, or whatever it is they're doing is vast, which means these companies then have a vested interest in making sure that these contracts stay there, because this is a huge chunk of change. This is a lot different than me just buying a Windows PC with Microsoft Windows on it. This goes above and beyond in terms of money. And so I think it's something that we need to watch. I think there needs to be more transparency, but I would love to hear what you think about this, because obviously as the situation continues, it's only going to expand as government naturally expands. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.